Well, hello. Welcome to my channel where we talk about all sorts of madness. We talk about AI and cryptocurrency and HR and operations. And I know I can be a bit all over the place, but I promise you it's for good reason. I dip into different segments to try to understand not just what to do for myself and my own business, but try to show you what I learn along the way. And this year of 2026, I don't know about you, but I haven't had a year quite like 2026 ever before in my whole entire life. And one of the anomalies that I notice is tech issues. Okay, I've had tech issues before. I've dealt with tech issues. I've worked with IT people, but I am declaring 2026 as the year of tech issues. Okay, so I have a Hermes. I have an Hermes agent. I have a couple of Hermes agents, and I have come on this channel and I've showed some of the projects that I've worked on with my Hermes. Most people say Hermes agent. I say Hermes. And what I did is I went to Hermes and I said, "Hey, buddy, am I the only one feeling this way?" And it's a little bit of confirmation bias. It's not like Hermes came up with this on his own, or it's an article that I came up with. But I asked him, I said, "Hey, am I the only one experiencing this? Can you dig up some research and let me know what other people are saying about this topic? Are we experiencing unprecedented tech issues in 2026 on the business operations side?" So I do quite a bit of business admin for my insurance agency, and I have seen nothing but I shouldn't say nothing, but I have seen vendors miscommunicating tech information back and forth ever since this year started. It seemed like I had quite a few carriers that were updating their feeds back and forth with their clients and with different systems all the time. Okay, so for instance, there are electronic feeds that transfer back and forth for claims or for eligibility information: who's enrolling, who's declining, who's terming, who's getting married, who's adding a dependent, who had a baby. That's what we call eligibility issues. And they have separate feeds. For billing is a separate department with insurance because it has nothing to do with claims, right? Claims are dealing with doctors and ICD-9 codes, procedure codes, diagnosis codes. That's a whole separate system. Billing is an entirely separate system. And I've seen carriers update their billing technology and that not go well. And then eligibility, like I said, is a totally different thing where you're adding and removing members from the roster for business and so on. And these carriers are so segmented. So when a Blue Cross Blue Shield says, "Hey, we want to get into the dental industry," they don't just spin up an independent dental insurance company. They buy another dental insurance company, or they buy several and push them all together. And throughout that process, they don't always update the system. Okay, so people are using these highly fragmented systems in insurance, where one day I will be filling out a claim form with a pen and a paper, putting it into an envelope, licking a stamp, taking it to USPS. And the next day I'm dealing with a system where I can chat with an agent, have an agent assist in facilitating a transfer of data or updating a plan design or updating benefits and so on. So I live in a world where one day I submit a paper claim form and the next I'm working with AI and transferring data in a more sophisticated or 2026 style, up to date of technologies kind of way. All right. So I have this range of skills that I have to use on a daily basis in 2026. I want to forget the paper system, but I cannot completely forget it because not every carrier has moved on from that system. And then we have faxing. Some carriers still fax because of HIPAA regulations. Okay, some providers still fax because of HIPAA regulations. And then we have to go on and find an e-fax, an electronic fax, because who the hell has a fax machine? Nobody has a fax machine anymore. So we have to use an e-fax service to check off boxes there. And it's all bullshit, because how is a fax more secure than a secure email? Is it really more secure? It all comes down to the legislation and the way the regulation is written. And when that regulation was written, if the carrier met that threshold and was in compliance at the time that was written in 1996, then they never change it from then until the end of time, because it's not worth the thousands of dollars in fees of breaking the rule or getting caught or an audit and all this thing. So it's very slow over here in insurance, and some carriers adopt things faster than others. So that's a little bit of my complaint. Those are my complaints, for better or for worse. Either you empathize with them or you don't. I'm sure you do empathize with them on some level. And so I said, Hermes, what is going on? Or is this just me? And he basically said, I got you, girl. I got you. You are not alone. 2026 is the year of tech issues. All right. Operations face increasing demand, vendor outages, burnout, AI failures, and talent gaps are all hitting at once. It's not just you. No, the data says it's everyone. I love he's speaking in hyperbole like me. Everyone. I'm sure just everyone is going through this. All right. So the human cost. IT and operations burnout. I would like to imagine that there's some employer out there. The guy's like 55, 60 years old, badass, understands business, understands manufacturing, and he is just in the middle of America somewhere with 50 employees, not fucking with AI, not changing anything. I'm sticking to my way. I'm manufacturing the way I want. And he's not having to deal with any of this. Maybe that guy's out there, maybe he's not. But I picture that guy sometimes just laughing at me. I told you this AI thing was a dead end road. All right, AI and operations burnout is endemic. Burnout isn't a buzzword. It's a measurable, costly crisis hitting operation roles hardest, exactly where you sit. All right, so I am heavily involved in business operations every day. And I have to tell you, some days I am just completely exhausted. Some days I feel like Superwoman, like I can do absolutely anything. And then other days I'm just like, I don't know how all this is going to work. I don't know if it's ever going to work. I think I have it all working, and then it all just unravels and falls apart. All right. So burnout isn't just a buzzword. So IT professionals with burnout, 67%. So just so you know, if you have an IT guy, IT professional, IT woman, IT lady, know that you have, when you're speaking with them and interacting with them, you have a 67% chance that person is burnt out. All workers with burnout, 83%. If you have an employee and you're speaking with that employee, you have an 83% chance that employee is burnt out. Okay. Healthcare, 76% of the workers in healthcare are experiencing burnout. Okay. And this is where I like to check Hermes on his work, because what doesn't make sense to me when I look at this is it says 67% of IT professionals experience burnout. And it says 83% of all workers with burnout, 83%. And then it says healthcare is the highest sector at 76%. Okay, so if healthcare is the highest sector, why is it lower than all workers? Okay, so I want to know burnout. So he's supposed to give me the source material so that I can check his work, and we will see what this says. So this is the information that's coming from here, from the presentation. The information that Hermes used to create this presentation is from HR Global. Okay, it says insights. The burnout problem leaders can't ignore. Employee engagement is falling sharply while burnout remains stubbornly high. That combination is creating a new retention risk for employers that are already dealing with economic uncertainty, organizational change, and evolving employee expectations. The DHR Global's 2026 Workforce Trends Report says just 64% of employees describe themselves as very or extremely engaged, which is down from 88% in 2025. At the same time, 83% report feeling at least some degree of burnout. Okay, engagement declines, burnout continues, and so on. I will not go through and read every single article that Edamaze gives us, but I will include links in the description. I'm also working on a website where I put out an article on each of my videos and accompany that with all of the supporting source material, all the links, so that if you're ever interested in anything that I talk about in any of my videos, you can go to my presentation, and each of the presentations from Edamaze at the bottom always have links. So all of the links, all the source materials in one place are provided here. So that's really important to me. So that's something that I'm working on. And in the meantime, if there's ever something that you want from me, you can go on to the Discord. I do have a Discord that I belong to. You can message me there. I'm one of the leaders on that Discord. You can also email me at melissa@nomadinsgrp.com. I will look out for your email. Just put YouTube or something in the subject line, and don't be weird, and I will see it and respond to you. Okay. Peak burnout. So it says 40 employee burnout statistic and trends in the workplace in 2026. More than half of US employees, 55%, are currently experiencing burnout. And this article is a little bit older. So this is from March 24, 2026. I think a lot of us were still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in March of 2026. So it was 55%. Now it's closer to 80%. Burnout costs employers about $4,000 to $20,000 per employee per year, with 89% of that cost coming from presenteeism, not absenteeism. All right, so absenteeism is when you're actually leaving, you're going to a doctor's appointment, or you're actually absent from work, you're calling in sick from work. Presenteeism is when you show up from work and you don't do anything. You're just there watching the time go by, okay? Because you're occupied thinking about something else, or you're so burnt out on working that you're thinking about working more than you're working. Okay, presenteeism. Younger workers are burning out earlier than ever. Gen Z hits burnout at age 25, a full 17 years earlier than the average American. Manager burnout drives teams wide disengagement. 70% of team engagement variance comes from the manager. The manager engagement has dropped to just 27% globally. All right, so these numbers are pretty staggering. And every major cloud provider had a significant outage in 2026. So Microsoft, AWS, Google, Verizon, Cloudflare, all of them. It's not just you. The vendors themselves are less reliable. Okay, so we had some pretty serious solar flares and solar activity that caused some outages, but this report is going through other connectivity failures. So Microsoft Azure connectivity failures, elevated latency in July 23rd of 2026. All right, so this is the West. So it was a disruption in the United States. Anthropic API errors and service disruption. 300,000 plus customers were affected by this outage, and multiple outages on cloud outages across the board. So the biggest cloud outages of 2026 so far, Microsoft, AWS, Google, Verizon, Cloudflare have experienced the biggest cloud outages of 2026 so far. Cloud outages remain a plague on modern IT environments, disrupting across the IT tools and cloud services businesses increasingly rely on. A report published earlier this year by Cisco Splunk division puts downtime costs for the global 2000 up to 50% over the past 2 years, with companies losing an average of 300 million a year to unplanned outages. Companies on average see 3.4% stock price drops after a single incident. Network and IT environments issues accounts for 43% of downtime events. According to the Splunk report, about 30% of events are cybersecurity driven and 24% come from application or infrastructure failures. Ranking the biggest cloud outages so far of 2026, every minute of downtime can cost $15,000 or about $900,000 an hour, according to Splunk. Downtimes appear to be getting more expensive over time across most direct cost categories, with lost revenue of $95 million, nearly twice as high as compared with 2024. The center's all over the place and they just reroute it. But so April 15th, Claude maker Anthropic experienced elevated error rates across its chatbot. The Claude Code coding assistant and its API, Anthropic had more than 300,000 business customers. According to the vendor, Anthropic had been making a major push to enterprise technology this year, seeing increasing errors in its product. Fully recovering, the company fully resolved the incident, according to a report. Then we have Google Gemini outage on June 10th, starting at 3:30 Pacific. Google Gemini services across the web, mobile, Google Chrome integrations, and other services lost availability and saw elevated error rates for about 7 hours. Then we had Microsoft Copilot outage in June. Microsoft saw 2 major outages of its Copilot artificial intelligence tool, which has grown to more than 20 million paid seats. And we had Microsoft 365 outage disrupt Outlook Teams. And Microsoft saw back-to-back outages with some of its most popular products applications at the start of the year. First, with its outage across Teams, Outlook, and other Microsoft 360 services in January of 2021, or in January 20 on January 21st, 2026. Verizon had a rough start to the year with an issue on January 14th that affected wireless voice and data services for customers. Okay. Cloudflare failure among the biggest cloud outages of 2026. Cloudflare experienced a 6-hour, 7-minute outage on February 20th. A change to how Cloudflare managed IP addresses onboarded through its BYOIP pipeline caused the outage. All right. So I'm not going to go through all this. Again, it's just a recap. Power failures are surging in 2026. So power failures increased 45% as of July 2026. Disruptions up from just 4% in the second quarter of 2026. That's a 10x jump in a single quarter. The Uptime Institute's 2026 report adds outage frequency per site has declined for 5 consecutive years, but the pace of improvement has slowed. External infrastructure failures are becoming more prominent, and data center fires are increasing gradually. Lithium-ion batteries in systems are a contributing factor. Okay, so AI outages went from 1 incident to 89 in 1 year, the fastest growing failure category of 2026, not human error, not hardware failure, AI systems breaking in entirely new ways. So AI quality incidents went from 1 to 89, and the highest number of disruption days went from 6 to 51. So Claude Code sub-agent outage, bugs in sub-agent coordination caused a new kind of disruption from complex AI features. GitHub availability declined. Agentic AI traffic exposed pre-existing weaknesses. Tight coupling, weak traffic protection, insufficient capacity, Amazon outage, and agentic coding tools. Wharton warns of recipe for disaster when deploying agentic systems without human oversight. Why this matters to you, ChatGPT, Claude, and Copilot The tools operations teams now depend on are facing rising reliability challenges. When your AI assistant goes down, your workflow goes with it. This is a new dependency that didn't exist 2 years ago. So downtime costs surged 50% in 2026, $600 billion annually. Splunk and Cisco 2026 report found the hidden costs of downtime have crossed from IT problem to systemic business crisis. 600 billion annual cost to global 2000 according to Splunk and Cisco, 300 million average per company from HelpNet security per minute according to Gatling. Network and IT related is 43%, cybersecurity driven is 32%, and app infrastructure is 24%. The extreme end, 41% of enterprise say hourly downtimes cost 1 million to 5 million, plus 1 in 8 companies, 12.5%, lose over 10 million monthly from outages and service degradations. Okay, so this is from Damage Sage. So 54 internet outages, statistics of 2026, global downtime, and the impacts of massive AWS outage in October of 2025 affected more than 3,500 companies in over 60 countries and made it clear how much global operations depend on cloud infrastructure. So AWS outages, internet down, reports by country. So peak outage reported 6.3 million reports from US alone and 1.5 million from the UK. Okay, so those are the different AWS outage reports by country. Okay, and that's all listed here. Then we get down to 93% of tech leaders say their teams can't deliver on 2026 priorities. It's not just burnout, it's that people aren't there to hire. The talent shortage has become a delivery blocker. Can't deliver on priorities, 93%. Can't find technical talent, 72%. Organizations affected by IT skills shortages, 90% plus. The operational trap, you can't hire your way out of this. AI skills top the hardest to find list globally for the first time. The same AI tools causing outages are the skills nobody can find. You're being squeezed from both sides. The object lesson is from CrowdStrike, one update, 8.5 million machines down, July 2024. CrowdStrike outage is the case study every operations manager should know. Lessons are still reverberating in 2026. So 8.5 million Windows machines were taken down in this CrowdStrike outage. One faulty update. The core lesson, endpoint protection software is inherently dangerous. It has privileged OS access. A single faulty update from one vendor cascades globally. This exposed the risk of over-reliance on single platforms and vendors. What changed and what didn't? The lessons: rigorous testing, enhanced monitoring, redundancies, accountability, regulatory standards are well documented, but in 2026, vendor consolidation has increased, not decreased. More interdependence, not less. The conditions that made CrowdStrike possible are stronger, not weaker. Okay. CrowdStrike outages expected to be the new normal in 2026. That's not a prediction from a doomsday blog. That's Tech Target's headline. The industry has moved from surprise to acceptance. Insurance angle, WTW reports that vendor risk and increasing reliance on core group of technology providers will stress test cyber insurance policies in 2026. Most 2025 outages were rectified in under 1 day, but an incident lasting days or weeks could cause exponentially higher billion-dollar impacts. The multiplier is independence. You don't just depend on your vendor, depends on other vendors. Who depends on a cloud provider? Who depends on a power grid? Okay, when CrowdStrike pushed one bad update, airlines grounded flights, hospitals canceled surgeries, the 911 systems went dark. One link, an entire chain broke. So in 2026 is the year of tech issues. All right, so 7 forces converging all at once. Not one of them all of them simultaneously, each making the others worse. So we have one is the burnout epidemic, where we have about 70% of all IT workers experiencing burnout. 2, vendor outages have become the new normal. We're seeing about 200 outages per week. Then 3, AI outages are a brand new category. We're seeing 1 to 89 incidents on that, causing issues. Number 4 is downtime costs are surging. It's getting more expensive to have downtime. 5 is cybersecurity worsening. Ransomware equals 48% of breaches. And 6, we have a talent gap, which is critical. 93% cannot deliver on the work that they have promised they would do. Interdependency amplifies. So one update can affect 8.5 million machines. Not that every update, I mean, it's a drastic example, but it paints the picture of the stakes that people are feeling, the pressure. Okay, the answer is it's not just me. Okay, no, it's the vendors, it's the tools, it's the workplace, it's the attackers, it's the infrastructure. It's all of them all at once, feeding each other. The operations manager who feels overwhelmed is responding to reality, not to weaknesses. Okay. So what can operations managers do? In the proposal, I have a checklist. And then I also have, in the presentation, I have a checklist here of what operation managers can do and what you can actually do. You can't fix the cloud, but you can build resilience where you have control. Okay, map your vendor dependencies. It must be in writing. Okay, SLAs in writing, demand SLAs in writing. Build redundancies. Document incidents responses. Invest in your people. Review cyber insurance. Track AI outages and trends. Okay, and then all of the sources of the articles that were referenced today are in the links down below. And with that, I would like to invite you to my Discord community. I do have a link in the description if you are working in AI or interested in learning more about it, or sometimes it feels like a counseling session in there because we're all experiencing these same feelings and burnout and the rapidly changing environment. And if you would like to be a part of a community, there's certainly an option for you there. And I have found that one day I love AI. I feel like I can do anything, conquer anything, build anything. And the next day I'm cut out. My legs are swept out from underneath me. Something breaks, an update goes through that breaks a chain of operations. An AI agent misunderstands a task and I have to rewrite a process. A vendor sends over information in a incorrect way, or the file gets corrupted, or information is lost for some reason. Employees, when you call the vendor to try to figure out what's going on, it's difficult to find someone that understands the issue completely, or even knows how to fix it, or even knows that if there's an issue. So debugging and troubleshooting has become increasingly frustrating. Okay. And I'm just here to empathize with you, and I'm here to say you're not alone. And I'm here to say this is all very difficult, very hard, and I don't know exactly 100% where all of this is going, but I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to stop working on it. I don't know how to stop trying to make all of these systems better. I'm here just to empathize with you and say you're not alone. I am declaring 2026 the year of tech issues, the year of troubleshooting, and the year of burnout. And that's just the environment that we're in. No, you're not alone, and just keep going. We're just going to keep going. We're going to power through it. Tomorrow's a new day. We're going to find solutions. As long as we're building with independency and agency in mind, it's all going to work out. All right. So with that, thank you for hanging out with me until the end. Share the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.